Hi, this is Jukedeck, and I'm starting a new series called Tinfoil Tuesdays. I will be discussing the books of George R. Martin and which possible spoilers they reveal about the Winds of Winter and the upcoming sequel series that George would like to call The Long Night. This video contains a lot of potential spoilers about the HBO sequel. Consider yourself warned. So the television show ended with Bran becoming king of Westeros, and Isaac Hempstead Wright confirmed this as a book spoiler straight from the man with a plan, George R. Martin himself. Today I shall discuss why this is the inevitable ending to the Ice and Fire series, and why this is the best possible outcome for Westeros. In A Dance with Dragons, Bran Stark meets Brendan Rivers, also known as the Blood Raven, who tells him, "I have been many things, Bran. Now I am as you see me, and now you will understand why I could not come to you, except in dreams. I have watched you for a long time, watched you with 1,000 eyes in one. I saw your birth, and that of your Lord Father before you. I saw your first step, heard your first word, was part of your first dream. I was watching when you fell." So the Blood Raven comes across as omniscient, all-knowing, and Bran assumes that such a creature would be able to heal his legs. The Blood Raven responds, "That is beyond my powers. You will never walk again, Bran, but you will fly." In the same chapter, we are given a description of the Blood Raven's current appearance. Before them, a pale lord in ebon finery sat dreaming in a tangled nest of roots, a woven weirwood throne that embraced his withered limbs as a mother does a child. His body was so skeletal and his clothes so rotted that at first Bran took him for another corpse, a dead man propped up so long that the roots had grown over him, under him, and through him. What skin the corpse lord showed was white, save for a bloody blotch that crept up his neck and onto his cheek. Roots coiled around his legs like wooden serpents. One burrowed through his breeches into his desiccated flesh of his thigh, to emerge again from his shoulder. A spray of dark red leaves sprouted from his skull. A little skin remained, stretched across his face, tight and hard as white leather, but even now it was fraying, the brown and yellow bone beneath poking through. The clothes he wore were rotted and faded, spotted with moss and eaten through with worms, but once they had been black. So whatever this plant was doing to the Blood Raven desiccated him, but also kept him from rotting like his clothes. It was incorporating him into the tree. Even though he was underground, the Blood Raven had sprouted leaves from his scalp. Let's go back now to George R. Martin's first novel, Dying of the Light. Dirk and Gwen are walking through a dying forest being invaded by choking vines. Dirk saw them moving through the dark twistings of the chokers and heard their high, chittering call. Finally, he saw one, sitting just above their heads on a swollen yellow branch, looking down on them, fist-sized, dead still, and somehow transparent. He touched Gwen's shoulder and nodded upward. She reached up to where the little creature sat and crumpled it in her hand. When she offered it to Dirk, her palm held only dust and dead tissue. "There's a nest of tree spooks around," she explained. "They shed their skins 4 or 5 times before maturity and leave the husks as guards to scare away predators." She pointed. "There's a live one if you're interested." Dirk looked and caught a fleeting glimpse of a tiny yellow scampering thing with sharp teeth and enormous brown eyes. "They fly too," Gwen told him. The tree spook was gone now, lost beneath a labyrinth of choker branches, but Dirk thought he saw another. He studied the woods around him. The transparent skin husks were everywhere, staring fiercely into the twilight from their perches, all grim ghosts. Gwen tells him, "The spooks are pests on Kimdis, but here they're really found their element. They blend perfectly with the chokers. They're cleaning out the forests, and in time they would kill off all the game and starve themselves to death." In A Dance with Dragons, Just before Bran meets the Blood Raven, he encounters a creature with a woman's voice, high and sweet, with a strange music in it like none he had ever heard. It was a girl, smaller than Arya, her skin dappled like a doe's beneath a cloak of leaves. Her eyes were queer, large and liquid, golden green, slitted like a cat's eyes. Her hair was a tangle of brown and red and gold, autumn colors, with vines and twigs and withered flowers woven through it. She beckons him to come with her. "It is warmer down deep, and no one will hurt you there. He is waiting for you." "The three-eyed crow?" asked Mira. "The green seer." Later, Bran notices that the floor of the Weirwood Cave is littered with bones. In Chapter 53 of A Clash of Kings, Qhorin Halfhand tells Jon, "The cold winds are rising, dead men walk, and the trees have eyes again. Why should we balk at things like wargs and giants?" Maester Yandel, in A World of Ice and Fire, says of the children of the forest, "The hunters among the children, their wood dancers, became their warriors as well. But for all their secret arts of tree and leaf, they could only slow the first men in their advance. The green seers employed their arts, and tales say they could call the beasts of marsh, forest, and air to fight on their behalf. Dire wolves and monstrous snow bears, cave lions and eagles, mammoths, serpents, and more." Legend says that the great floods that broke the land bridge that is now the Broken Arm and made the Neck a swamp were the work of the green seers, who gathered at Mokalan in order to work dark magic. In A Dance with Dragons, the first time Bran wargs a raven, he told Lord Brennan someone else was in the raven, a woman, "of those who sing the song of the earth," his teacher said. "Long dead, yet part of her remains, just as part of you would remain in summer, if your boy's flesh were to die upon the morrow. A shadow of the soul. She will not harm you." "Do all the birds have singers in them?" "All," Lord Brennan said. "It was the singers who taught the first men to send messages by raven. But in those days, the birds would speak the words. The trees remember, but men forget. And so now they write the messages on parchment and tie them round the feet of birds who have never shared their skin." Old Nan had told him the same story once, Bran remembered. Leaf tells Bran, "The gods gave us long lives, but not great numbers. Lest we overrun the world as deer will overrun a wood when there are no wolves to hunt them." I think that it is clear that all these books are describing the same creature, what we would call a child of the forest or a singer. So what is the significance of Bran's meeting Brennan Rivers and the children under a weirwood, and what is its connection with the Dawn Age, the time of the blood-drenched moon? Let's find out. John Vickery, when discussing the history of High Kavalan, tells Gwyn and Dirk, when star travel resumed, and the Wolfmen and the Tuburians and later the Kimdisi came, they found us eager to learn the lost arts of technology. We had starships, but still no history. He continues, describing his search through computers and discovering the history of a planet that matched High Kavalan's description, explaining its original name was Kavanaugh, and the true nature of the creatures who inspired the gargoyle myths. In the words of Graham Hancock, "a species with amnesia." During his explanation, the trio arrives at Challenge, a fusion-powered, automatic, computerized, and self-repairing city. I'll go into that some more in a moment. The Blood Raven, while training Bran Stark, tells him, "Men forget, only the trees remember." "Most of him has gone into the tree," explained the singer, Mira called Leaf. "He has lived beyond his mortal span, and yet he lingers. He has 1,000 eyes in one, but there is much to watch. One day you will know." "What will I know?" Bran asked the Reeds afterwards. "What do the trees remember?" "The secrets of the old gods," said Jojen Reed. "It is given to few to drink of the green fountain while still in the mortal flesh, to hear the whisperings of the leaves, to see as the trees see, as the gods see," said Jojen. "Most are not so blessed." The singers made Bran a throne of his own, white weirwood flicked with red, dead branches woven through living roots. Time began to fly. "Only one man in 1,000 is born a skin changer," Lord Brennan said one day, after Bran had learned to fly. "And only one skin changer in 1,000 can be a green seer." When Bran later asked Jojen for clarification, Jojen compares it to getting lost in a good book, only even bigger. What is bigger than one book? Maybe a fusion-powered, automatic, self-repairing supercomputer? Challenge was all of those Emerelli towers in one. Silver white instead of black, twice as haughty and 3 times as tall. AI Emerald's archaeological philosophy embodied in metal and plastic. Fusion-powered, automatic, self-repairing. The Emerelli boasted that it was immortal. As they climbed out, a deep bass voice spoke to them from nowhere.
"Welcome,"
it said.
"I am the voice of challenge. May I entertain you?"
Dirk glanced back over his shoulder, and Gwen laughed at him. "The city brain," she explained. "The supercomputer. I told you the city still lived." They then ordered a meal from a fully automated restaurant that was able to adjust the mood lighting by subtle command, kind of like being served weirwood paste that changes its flavor to cinnamon in a mother's last kiss. Gwen explains, "It powers itself from fusion reactors and throws off energy and fireworks no one sees. It harvests tons of food every day with its huge farming mix, but almost no one eats. It still sends a boat to Mesquel every day to pick up fish. There are never any fish, of course." The voice doesn't rewrite the program? Ah, the crux of the matter. The voice is an idiot. It can't really think. Can't program itself. It does what it is told, and the Emerelli told it to go on, to withstand the cold as long as it could. It will. It keeps on long after its persistence has lost point and meaning. Keeps on pushing for nothing after everything is dead. After Gwen's passive-aggressive explanation to Dirk, they embark on some adventures and meet Challenge again as they book a hotel room.
"A wide selection of library tapes is available for your viewing pleasure,"
the voice said.
"I regret to inform you that all regular festival programming has been terminated."
"Don't you ever go away," Dirk snapped.
"Basic monitoring functions continue at all times, for your safety and protection, but if you wish, my service function can be temporarily deactivated in your vicinity. Some residents prefer it this way."
"Including me," Dirk said. "Deactivate."
"If you should change your mind or require some service, simply push the button marked with a star on any nearby wall screen, and I will be at your command."
Then it fell silent. Later, Dirk was bored and began to play with the view screen, idly testing its capabilities. He pulled up some old queries, tried to spy on John Vickery without success. Frowning, Dirk tried another sequence for spaceport information to check Ruark's data on the ship. This time, he had better luck. There were ships due within the next 2 standard months. Dirk cleared the screen and tried other numbers, noting which functions had been shut down entirely, which had been stripped to a skeleton status, and which still operated at festival levels. Often, there was a city-by-city breakdown, which convinced him that he had chosen correctly in coming to Challenge. The Emerelli had been determined to prove their tower city immortal, and they had left everything on in defiance of the cold and the coming ice. Dirk and Gwen then escaped under the complex to evade some people who were pursuing them into a giant underground complex that reminds me of the ancient crypts of Winterfell. Before this adventure, however, the two stopped at a musical city founded by the people of Dark Dawn. Gwen tells Dirk of the city's history. A legend claimed that Dark Dawn was a world always perilously close to the edge of sanity, and that the music of Lamaya Bayless, the greatest of the Darkling dreamers, pushed the whole culture over into madness and despair. In punishment, they say, her brain was kept alive and can now be found deep under the mountains of Warlord, hooked up to the wind machines and playing her own masterpiece over and over forever. She also told Dirk that the Darklings never used computers much and had very little of the technology. Kryne Lamia is described as a small city full of canals on the edge of the Great Black Sea. Another city, small in size, filled with canals, located on the edge of the Shivering Sea, claims to have been founded by moon singers. Like Kryne Lamia, it is also associated with assisted suicide. That city is Braavos. There is a popular theory that the moon singers who founded Braavos were a race of the children of the forest. So there you have it, a supercomputer that had been hacked into by a race of singers, a supercomputer with the memories of the planet, housed in a white tower with the ability to control the planet's climate, monitor all of the important events, which can be activated by touch. In the words of Maester Yandel, it is also from these histories that we can learn of the long night, when a season of winter came that lasted a generation in which children were born, grew into adulthood, and in many cases died without ever seeing the spring. Indeed, some of the old wives' tales say that they never even beheld the light of day. So complete was the winter that fell upon the world. Lomas Longstrider recounts meeting descendants of the Rhoynar in the ruins of the festival city of Croyane, who have tales of a darkness that made the Rhoyne dwindle and disappear, her waters frozen as far south as the joining of the Selhoru. The return of the sun came only when the hero convinced Mother Rhoyne's many children to put aside their bickering and join together to sing a secret song that brought back the day. In the Jade Compendium, the sun hid his face from the earth for a lifetime, ashamed at something none could discover, and that disaster was averted only by the deeds of a woman with a monkey's tail. In the north, they tell of a last hero who sought out the intercession of the children of the forest. Thanks to the children, the first men of the Night's Watch banded together and were able to fight and win the battle for the dawn. It is clear that the children brought back the dawn by hacking into Warlorn's climate-controlling computer, or doing something to the planet's force field to warm it up. With Bloodraven's help, Bran Stark also hacked into that same ancient supercomputer. Bran Stark can bring back the dawn. More importantly, he has rediscovered the planet's lost memories and can restore it to the spacefaring civilization it once was. Westeros and Essos can finally advance past the medieval age and rejoin the other 14 planets colonized by Earth. This is why Bran Stark must become the king of Westeros. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to hit that like button if you like what you saw. And if you really like what you saw, please consider supporting me on Patreon. Have a wonderful day.